Hello wonderful people and welcome back. This video is titled Homeless Man Collects Stray Dogs, Woman Decides to Investigate. I've got a weird feeling about this one. Something about that man called her attention from the very first minute. The image of that nameless drifter cycling down the road, carrying a basket full of dogs, gave her an eerie feeling. So one day, she decided to stop by and get to know more about what he was up to. And when she knew what was going on, she knew she had no other option than to do something about it. The protagonist of this story is a woman named Alicia Edrington. When it happened, she was driving down the Arkansas road to spend the holidays with her family back home. She was looking forward to some time of leisure and calm, away from the stress of life in the bustling city of Memphis. But there was something about Alicia that would intertwine her destiny and that of a mysterious strange. She was a worker for the West Memphis Animal Shelter. She had always been fond of animals, and she saw it as her purpose in life to do whatever she could to make their lives better. Every time she saw a dog and suspected it could be going through a tough situation, she couldn't help but stop by and try to do something for it. And it was this natural, compassionate character that would end up uniting her fate with that of the enigmatic drifter. The first time she saw him, she didn't stop by. It was getting dark already, and she didn't want to delay her arrival at her parents' house for longer than necessary. However, the image of that man's silhouette, covered in an old raincoat and wandering through the road with a basket full of barking dogs, left a strong impression on her. She couldn't find a word to define what she felt at that moment. It was a bit of an eerie and grim image, but it also evoked in her feelings of tenderness and compassion. Little did she know that their paths would cross again. After a week in her family's house in an Arkansas town, Alice had to hit the highway again. It had been a fun time, but now she needed to get back to work. Before we continue, if you like this video, please like, comment, or subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Now back to the video. And as she was driving that same highway again, he saw him. That mysterious drifter was still walking the road, with the sole company of his dogs. God must have put this man on that road at that time for a reason, she would write in a Facebook post later. Because as I was returning to town, I saw him. This time, she couldn't help but wonder why he was still on the road and where he was heading. He looked lost and helpless. The dogs seemed to be all right, but they looked affected by the air of aimlessness that the man seemed to carry around him. This time, she decided to stop by the side of the road and find out what was going on. She stopped her car, got out, and walked toward the man. He instantly looked back and stared back at her with inquisitive eyes, like he was inspecting the very inside of Alicia's soul. Alicia felt a chill through her spine. She started wondering whether it had been a good idea to decide to approach that man. But she did her best to overcome her fears and kept getting closer to him. "Hey there, how are you doing?" she timidly asked the man when she finally was close enough. The man waited before responding. Did he suspect Alicia's motives? Or maybe he was thinking of something else. "I'm all right, thank you." "How are you?" he finally replied. "I'm fine too. I was just wondering if you or your dogs need any help. It's the second time I've seen you on this road, and I just wanted to make sure you are all right or I can be of help somehow." Again, the man remained silent for a moment and deeply stared back at Alice. His expression was indecipherable. There was no way that Alice could guess what was going through his mind at that moment. But after a while, he came out of his silence and told Alicia about his story, why he had so many dogs with him, and where he was heading. His name was Steve, and he was homeless. He was traveling from California, where he used to live, to Indiana. He felt like he needed a change of scenery, and he had a girlfriend who lived there. It wasn't an easy trip, though. His bike was the only vehicle he had access to, and sometimes the weather wasn't too merciful. And being with all those dogs made it even more demanding than if he had to be on his own. But why was he carrying so many of them? Just like Alicia, Steve felt like his purpose in life was to take care of animals and make sure that they had a decent life. Ever since he went homeless, more than 14 years ago, he had great sympathy and affinity for stray dogs. He felt like they were brothers in destiny. Just like him, they had been abandoned by those who were supposed to take care of them, and just like him, they were in search of a direction and an aim in life. But that wasn't all. To Steve, those dogs were the family he no longer had. And as Alicia could see, the dogs really seemed to respect, revere, and love Steve like a fatherly figure. But he was not always understood by the people around him. When he lived in California, he was once investigated by the police. They suspected that he may run some sort of illicit business with those dogs. But all Steve had for his stray dogs was love and compassion. They all had been spending the last weeks roaming along the road on their way to Indiana. At nights, they just camped in the field. Alicia was moved by Steve's story. Just like her, he had made it his goal in life to help animals and take care of them. She felt like she had to do something for him. Alicia asked Steve if he had a phone. He did. He gave her his number. After wishing each other luck and going on their separate ways, Alicia started a GoFundMe campaign to help Steve and his dogs so they could at least stay somewhere safe during their trip to Indiana. Soon enough, the campaign raised more than $30,000. Alicia got in touch with Steve and let him know. He was moved by Alicia's gesture and thanked her with tears in his eyes. Now, Steve and his dog family can stay in decent hotels on their way to Indiana. All thanks to the generosity and compassion of Alicia and hundreds of people who were moved by the story she shared. He treats the dogs better than he treats himself, Edrington later said in an interview. I find it extraordinary. That's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. As always, if you like this video, please like, comment, or subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.